Hey, what's going on, everyone? This your boy Freeze with the weekly live stream, and today we are going to talk about. I ain't got my hat on. Y'all gonna start making fun of me again. Let me put my hat on. There we go. But so honestly, not a whole lot to talk about today. If I'm being honest with you, so just gonna look at some of the stuff that I didn't talk about last week. So obviously, last week we had the combiner event, and I was having some conversations with some buddies of mine, and uh, we were talking about how Raiden and Dino King might have been kind of bad design. So I'm gonna walk through some of the notes that I took about that and see what you guys think. And want to I also want to take a look at just some things that I'd like to see as improvements this year. Kind of like if I were Space Ape, what my New Year's resolution type thing would be. Um, so let me know in the chat what kind of things do you want to see be done differently in Transformers Earth Wars in 2025, and when we get to looking at the comments, we'll kind of discuss. I got a small list of things. That's kind of the top of my list. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I already see the comments. It's like the hat, the hat. But yeah, so overall, pretty chill stream. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and before we look at any of that, we want to look at the newsletter, which I have to update because the newsletter just came in like while I was setting up for the stream. So let me get the new one links put up there. Shout out to Jacada for actually getting that to me because it still hadn't showed up in my email yet, and I know a lot of people were starting to kind of complain about it. So I hadn't even read it yet, but apparently it's not a whole lot in it. so, um, so the event's called Next in Line. It's actually week one of the saga. So we're doing Alliance Totalizer, and they did post this in Discord earlier. So just basic 500k, no rewards past that, but it goes all the way up to 2 million, because it's always going to be those XP hunters up there. So ooh. All right, now I see that I have sound. All right, so this week's event is called Next in Line. It's actually week one of the saga, and basic rewards. You get up to 6 of your bot XP items, the 500k variety, 350k spark, 2.5k of the 4-star shards, 7.5k to 3-star shards, and 60k premium shards. And then your resources. So basic event, which the thing that I'm happy about is that it goes all the way up to it's a 500k event, but it goes all the way up to 2 million, which is gonna help for all the guys that just love to go hunt XP. And it's just one of those things. It's become kind of a pain in the butt for me with 500k events. Uh, if they end immediately, you know, and in my particular case, we're a small alliance family, and so it's only 5 alliances in the Horde Alliance family, and all of them are capable of completing the 500k. Now, if you got you know younger people that are newer to the game in your alliance family, then by all means you want to go out there and help. But we just got guys that'll leave like as soon as the war ends to go hunt XP, and after a while it's just like you just kind of want everybody to stay put as much as possible. And I was telling the apes before, uh last year, that 500k events had turned into almost like endurance events, in the regard that people are always moving around and you gotta herd all the cats back in if you're in alliance leadership. So I'm glad they started to do more of those as 2 mil, and then you have the option to move around and you can plan around that still. Typical battle zones. See, and you can tell that this kind of got put together at the last put together at the last second because it's still talking about mayhem mode. I don't believe that this event is actually mayhem mode, so they just forgot to take that down from last week, I imagine. I mean, I don't know for sure because, like I said, the newsletter just came out, or I would have asked. All right, so they have shown us the first 4 events. So, so Saga schedule starting with this 500k. So they're saying that they're starting off with 3 straight 500ks, which is really interesting. And then they want to have a mayhem individual leaderboard for the new combat release for the 5-star, and that will be at the end of the month, going into February. I gotta be honest with you, I I just don't like that. And it's gonna come up later on when I start talking about some of the things that I want to see done differently this year. But why are we doing these events differently than we do an endurance event? Like, I understand that there's less combats. I do understand that. But it's like they're gonna make that into an actual leaderboard format, and I don't know. I just didn't. That didn't vibe well with me the last time. BBE. A lot of people were getting the binary bonds and stuff like that, and Deceptidog about to start barking, guys. Say hi to everybody, Deceptidog. The other dogs out there in the backyard, so I'm gonna have them sit with me for a minute, talk some Transformers. Wow, and I'm so this thing's got mistakes all over it because so somebody says an individual 500k event. I'm so I'm gonna assume that that's 5k. I no, it's 5k prime sharks. I don't know at this point, but I'm almost guarantee you that it's not gonna be. He's looking at week 2 here. No, I don't think that's gonna be an individual 500k. I think they rushed making the newsletter. So, but I'm not really feeling the individual leaderboard. I am feeling that they're doing these. Well, I'm not feeling 500Ks. I'd rather just do a bunch of individual events. But um, it is time for them right now. They do need to slow down a little bit, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. Why I feel that way. Make sure you check out all your official content creators, myself, Soldier, Sunstreaker Waza, who was absolutely right. It's not a whole lot to talk about this week because I mean it's been too quiet in the game, and I get it. Like the guys over there that work on the game definitely deserve some rest. Um, but the holidays are over now. We're a week past New Year, a week into New Year's. We got to start getting the ball rolling on some stuff because this content that they were supposed to be working on that it's been since September, and I'll come back to that because it's a reason for that. And Space Ape is going to have their stream on the 30th, and that is the news for this week. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at the chat. All right. So let me pull up the chat on my end so I can actually read it and see who we got. All right. See, I caught Deceptidog before he started barking at the dogs outside, so now he just sitting in my lap. That's the only way I can keep him calm with the other dogs out. All right, so we got one of my good friends and one of my members, Blade 19, was first in the chat today. Thanks for joining. And says thanks for the stream. Yeah, man, we gotta get back into something normal, man. It's been about a month now when of everything just being off pace in Transformers Earth Wars. I took a couple weeks off for the holidays, um, and with starting my new job and everything, which is going pretty well so far. Um, we just got to get back to some sense of normalcy. So I do plan on being on Thursdays at 6 now. Um, just because with the newsletter coming in late, hopefully it's not continuously coming in this late. They already made the content push, which was one of the complaints that people had. when we first moved it to Thursdays. It's no adjustment period. You know, they just, I don't know. We'll come back to it. Michael Cooper's in here again, wishing everyone, hoping everyone had a great holiday season, and same to you, buddy. Another one of my good friends, Chris Harmon, one of my moderators and members, and said no newsletter today. So yeah, now it's starting to come out to everyone. At the time when you said it, nah, we didn't have one. Uh, Another one of my good friends, Dark Terror, one of my moderators, dabbles in some of the content or whatever as well. So glad to have you here, Terror. And we also got Shock Bomb 28 with us again. Thanks for joining, Shock Bomb. I'm laughing at some of the comments that come in because some stuff that ain't changed since 2024. All right, let's see. All right, so we got Takeda in here, one of my good friends, playtester, member, got it wears every hat. Thanks for joining, buddy. Lou Mega is with us again. 1, 2, 3, and perhaps 4 and 5. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Happy new year to you as well, buddy. We got RG in here with us, as well as Autobot Phil. Thanks for joining us again, guys. We got another one of my good friends, playtester member as well, Esclohasi. Thanks for joining. We got Joseph Prime, another good friend, content creator. Thanks for joining, Joseph. We got E-Rods with us again. Thanks for joining, E-Rods. And I'm just laughing at Jakeda's comment right underneath that because he said this newsletter is worse than normal. They took an extra day and a half to make the usual mistakes and remove the majority of the content. Yeah, that was kind of tough. We got new Nemesis Enforcer in here with us again, wishing everyone a happy new year. Happy new year to you as well, Nemesis. All right, Blade 19 actually got made a comment that I want to talk about a little bit later on as well. But it says less content for better quality. Just make sure everything is good and working before it's released. Just do that, and I will be happy. We're gonna come back to that because that is one of my talking points for the night. All right, Candyman, one of my good friends and members, says when is the Cyclonus event? That'll be huge. We'll talk about that too. We gotta see, and there's a reason why they didn't come out with Cyclonus. We'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, we got some comments. Refuse to do leaderboard. Nah, I get that. Shock Bomb 28 says if they brought the newsletter out 2 weeks after the event, they still get it wrong. Oh man. Yeah, and said I don't know if you guys did see now Deceptidogs up there. See. Yeah, but I think he can get down now. You can go back and go play. I think those dudes are gone. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah, we were trying to figure out, still trying to figure out that prime shards thing. And well, I assume they might have met 50K individual, but like for prime shards, they probably just messed something up in its entirety. I don't. You can't call it anymore, man. Just use the extra time. They took a whole extra day and a half. Use the extra time. Escloasi said Russian raiding screwed everything up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit also. We got Berserk with us. Thanks for joining us, Berserk. Oh, okay, Fusion Bolt, yeah, from playtest. So another one of my playtesters in there. So we got a lot of people that can catch me if I'm start lying about stuff, or if we or if I start telling the truth. Guys that can agree with me about all this stuff. So All right, we got a long one there. The real chill chuck from Dungeon Meshi. Hot take: Starscream is a better leader than Megatron. But anyway, yeah, thanks for joining. I don't know, man. Like Starscream can lead, but like I was like, man, like when they start talking about some of the best cartoon character leaders of all time, man, Megatron's name always comes up. Um, a lot of people, or just iconic villain leaders like Shredder's names always comes up from Ninja Turtles. So, um, yeah, let me know in the chat, like, which what's your details, what's your logic behind that one. All right, we got Andrew Stevenson with us again. Thanks for joining. And then Michael Cooper says, Decepticon looks like the dog that barks at my dog whenever we go for a walk. That's essentially who Decepticon is, man. Like that's exactly what he does. All right. So, all right. So we want to talk a little bit. I want to go back and take a look, and then let me get all my notes together while I'm doing that because I want to go look at. Oops. And actually, let me move my chat screen so I can still read what you guys are saying. But that's got all kinds of stuff. I almost shut the stream down by accident. I got 3 screens. I'm gonna move it to this other screen. All right, so I wanted to take a look at and we took a look at him for a few weeks when he was in development. But I want to take a look at that new combiner we got. So we just got Dino King and Raiden. It's got Dino King and Raiden as the 4-star. And so one of the things that we were looking at is with the 4-star, you get this 4-star ability. And there was a lot of back and forth that we were having through um, just a few friends of mine as they were talking about it. And the biggest thing that I was looking at here is when you look at that ability, that meteoric rise. So it says you charge an energy orb that explodes after 10 seconds, dealing, you know, X damage, increasing by further 2% each time he takes damage up to 60%. And the key thing is this is supposed to be a defensive combiner. So when you make this into a defensive combiner, they give it a specialized defense ability, which I do like that. I think that they need to give all of the combiners um, a defense unique ability. That would be great. But it says buildings take 60% less water damage for 30 seconds from when Dino King deploys. Cool, man. Now my problem with that, well, first off, let's just take a look real quick. So we got Dino King here. I got my little special timer that they let me use so I can demonstrate stuff on live stream. And we'll just take a look at that again. Because one of the bigger problems that we're having with this is that honestly, like they build anytime you start talking about reducing water damage, I just see we're trying to stop God Neptune and Ruination. And to be honest with you, that's a little short sighted. And and I know some of the guys that I was talking about this with, some of whom are in the chat, probably think that I was like defending Space Ape or something like that. But nah, I play devil's advocate a lot, and I probably should have actually got Neptune out there. So let me go back and do that. But if they would have came out with Dino King and Raiden a year ago, this would have been okay. But what the problem is as soon as Space Ape comes back next week, well, when Dale comes back next week, I should say, because he's in charge of this project for Predaking and Volcanicus, that's going to probably be what people use. And unless they make something out of this 5-star ability when we come 5-star time, and who knows when that's going to be, um, you're really just going to make this just to stop God Neptune or whatever. Even though you've got the build bots, but uh, I don't know. It's just it's a little strange. So I'm gonna get him to come out there and use that ability. Since this is a front-loaded base, he's can get him to use it pretty early. But realistically speaking, a lot of the bases are now that it's kind of split, and they have it at the top. So it works great in that case when I've got healing going and I've got um, the anti-water and everything going. Cool, man. That works perfect. But in most practical cases, I might not see a base like this. I might see something where like I might see something closer to this. And what I would do in that case, and this is actually one of the war tactics I use. Like a lot of people give me a hard time about liking Nova Prime and Vector Prime, but this is one of the reasons why I like Nova Prime and Vector Prime because of those flips. Ooh, just lost my chat again. Jacada said, "Don't get me started on that ability." I know you and I have definitely had conversation about that one. Um, but one of those things that I look at after I clear out a certain amount of space, that's when I'm going to come back with Nova Prime and trying to get that combiner down. And so now, in theory, I mean, granted, I don't know what bugged out thing is going on right now with my bludgeon, and I probably should take some of this stuff off the screen. But you know, right now I can just let that 30 seconds just kind of go away off of Dino King's ability there, and I will still be able to come back after the fact and destroy all kinds of stuff with this water ability. So that's been one of the big complaints from a lot of players. There's like it's too easily avoidable, and which I'm inclined to agree. I mean, just wait the 30 seconds out, and you can go right back to just wreaking havoc all over the base. Or you can use another ability, or you got some options there. Now, in this particular case, it's a lot of healing up there in the cluster. A lot of times, what I would do is use my other abilities to make sure that there's not any healing sources. But I mean, ultimately, it did more damage than what we were just looking at. And so, but let me know in the chat, what are you, for those of you who got the 4-star and started using it, um, how do you feel about it? And so, oh, I see, one of my teammates, Skinny, aka Oil Man, is in there. Thanks for joining, bro. No, I said I did mention you, Chris. I thought because I was like, yeah, my friend, member, and stuff like that. But yeah, Chris Harmon's in there. One of my good friends in the game. Thanks for joining, buddy. In case I did miss you. All right, Supreme Rules is with us again. Thanks for joining. Oh, and that's what I meant to tell you guys. As a matter of fact, I want to get everybody's reaction about that. and I should have started off with that. How do you guys like the new soundtrack, the new music that I put up there on the weight screen? Because that actually came from one of the guys that comes on the channel a lot, and that is highly classified. Actually made that track. So he sent me a couple of tracks, and I told him I've really, really, really started to like that one. Um, so shout out to Highly Classified for putting together that track and let me use it on the live stream. All right, so looking through the chat, let's see. Escalasi said, "I'd like to see squad cores revamped. Maybe a new building that you equip the core to that gives it's bonus to the bots in your squad when attacking and defending. That would be dope." And that's one thing that I saw that they started the whole squad core thing. They were really difficult to get, so they eventually put them in the Shannick store, and then nothing. So yeah, that definitely if they made a defensive squad core, and maybe that could be something that you could get with because eventually you got to be able to get something else with prime core shards because only the newer players need them, and so you gotta have your prime core shard events. But maybe you can use them to go get these cores as well. All right, so going back to this, and so like I said, it's a good thing that we got a lot of play testers in the chat today because they can talk intelligently about what we were talking about on Raid and Dino King. And so going back to this 4-star ability, this 4-star ability is just stopping water damage. And so one of the comments that came out was that, and a few of you guys have said this from playtest, it should have been like a all abilities, like a all elemental ability thing. And at first, I was a I'll be honest. At first, I was somewhat against it, um, because I think it's a little bit much to have something that stops everything. But then you can still find ways to avoid it. And I think it got to be a little bit too much tunnel vision when we was like, we must stop Ruination and God Neptune. So that was a little bit much, to be honest with you. Um, and from that standpoint, it kind of made it bad design. I think if they would have done this a year ago, I'd have been okay with it. I think they're doing this now, and then everybody's just going to turn around and use Predaking and Volcanicus, and they're going to be using. Everybody's already using fire. That this is not going to make it of good use. And every version they've made of this 4-star ability, I hadn't really cared for. I actually like this 3-star one better because it's just doing 2 times damage. Um, I don't like the way that it's actually set up as far as how that attack happens. But I do like the additional damage to the bots, combats, and combiners. I think that's worth it. And the life steal aspect of the 3-star ability. That's the one I actually like on defense. But it's kind of going back into where it's a jack of all trades, master of none type scenario, and it makes it a little bit annoying because I think everybody was looking for, hey, this is going to be dominant on defense, and it's just not that. Yeah, and I see a couple of folks giving highly classified a good job, man, for the track. Yeah, I said it was cool, man. Like he actually, cause and I don't really use it, so I'm actually surprised that I saw his message. But he sent me a message on I got a Facebook page just for content, and he was like, "Hey, man, you know, I got some cool tracks if you want to listen to them." And that's how we got to the point where it's like, "Hey, this is the one that I want." So didn't charge me anything for it, but I would definitely I wouldn't mind using his tracks going forward. Um, and I'll have to talk to him about it because that's like I'll pay him. I'll pay him something to go make just different music. It's a part of the whole experience of coming on stream is to see hear some of the different music from time to time. All right, so let's see. So I got a question in here from Fusion Bolt, and he asks, what do you think of the release plan? Should they make it more accessible to newbies?" So the short answer to that is yes, they should. Um, Now, the way that I would go about doing that is if they wanted to make it more accessible to newbies, all they would have to do is make it so that if you got a bot and you say you go get a 2-star version of this bot, you should be able to upgrade it when the 5-star is available. You should be able to upgrade that to a 3-star, to a 4-star, to a 5-star. And I've had that conversation with a lot of people lately. And you know what? You could still have the exclusivity period. Like if you wanted to go do an endurance event, for example, and just get the 5-star right out. Cool, man. We already know that that works, and you know how we know that works? Because we do it with the combiners. So you could do it with bots, and you probably make more money that way too, because people who want to get the bot free to play, it's going to take them a lot longer to go in there and grind out those events and go get all the resources and everything they need to go take them up to the next level. And and then you still have to take them to 3, 4, 5. Now I could see more people going in and just going for the 4-star and then upgrading to the 5-star. But I think they should be a little bit of a gap in there when it's like, look, no, all you get, you can max out the 4-star all you want, when they just haven't unlocked the 5-star unless you get it out the event or unless you paid for it. And I think that would be cool. All right, so we got a comment that says combiners are too big and special, rare content to make them so niche. And I mean, that's a valid point. Like when you are, we get combiners. Typically, we got two. Well, we got one this year, but we're gonna have Volcanicus come out soon. Volcanicus and Predaking come out soon, and the problem with that is they're gonna come in real close together. Because let's be honest, it was this time last year when we unlocked the final piece for Predaking, and everybody's like, "All right, yeah, when's it gonna come out?" And it did not come out yet. And I told people then, I was like, look, typically they release something around November, December when it comes to combiners. And that didn't happen. And a part of the reason why that didn't happen is because and I kind of noticed the timing early, but during that last Space Ape stream, one of the things that they were talking about is that Transformers Earth Wars was going to be going to a different studio. And I thought at the time maybe that's why all the content has been getting pushed back, because most people, we go through the same old, oh, the game is ending, they're not making any new content, this, that, and the other. But the truth is, and I can't go into all the details about it because Space Ape still hadn't finalized all their contracts and stuff yet, and I don't even know who the new studio is going to be. I just know that it's not going to be Supercell. So so um and that makes sense. Like when you're splitting up from, uh, essentially Space Ape is going to be going with Supercell, and so this isn't going to be a Space Ape game or a Supercell game anymore. It's going to be, well, realistically speaking, um, Giannis is going to have control over the game, but you know, it's going to be a new studio supporting it, and so one of the things that I want to see is how those interactions with this new studio affect how content is produced in this game. Um, so yeah, they had to stop making a lot of content for a little bit. That's why we didn't get um, That's why we didn't get Cyclonus and Power Glide. That's why we didn't get them. They were going to make it, and then we started running into the whole, hey, we're going to go with a different studio. And to be honest with you, from a standpoint, a money standpoint, I wouldn't go make all that stuff either, so that these guys, while they still own the game, get all of my bread. I don't know if that is a factor into it, but I'm just saying, me as Freezius Max, I wouldn't go start pumping out all kind of paid content for them to go get all the benefits from it and make all the money off it. I personally wouldn't do that. I'm not saying that's why Space Ape's doing it, but you know, um, but all that said, this new studio is gonna give a lot more support to the game. You should see more developers. A lot of our developers have been getting pulled to go to other games and stuff like that. And we've been noticing that over the last year and a half, 2 years. That every time we get a new community manager, every time we get a new developer, next thing you know, they're gone. So um, I'm looking forward to seeing what this new team is going to bring. And it might be, honestly, it might be where it's going to be a lot of the existing team, or they might even bring some folks back that worked on the game in the past. So we'll see how that goes. I definitely want them to. I want the game to do well, but from what Dale is telling me, and I don't know what their contract is going to look like with the studio, but he's saying that by them going to this new studio, uh, the game will be running for several more years as a result. So definitely not a fear that the game is ending. It's just how long is it going to take? Because when does Supercell get to 100%? It's either March or April when they get to 100% ownership. And that said, I would imagine that that's when they're going to split up and go to this new studio. So it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough first half of 2025. To be honest with you, I think that's why the event schedule looks like that. Like, we're not going to keep pumping um, major events, even though uh, they are pumping a leaderboard in there. So I don't like those. I'll do the minimum I need to do to go complete the event, but I was like, I'm not competing in a leaderboard to go get a 5-star of anything. I would much rather go buy the 5-star than to go compete in the leaderboard for, if I'm gonna keep it a band with you. I feel like spending money on this stuff it should take away the work. Like, you shouldn't spend money on the game and then do more work. Like, to me, that's for me personally. I'm not judging anybody that does it, but nah, man, I've never been really a leaderboard guy. All right, so let's see. Let me see if I had any other notes. Oh, another thing, I'm gonna go back to putting, our combiner here, our Raiden and our Dino King up here. Another thing that we were talking about is, so when they did the event last week, a lot of people were shocked that the event only had 2 pieces in it. And I'll be honest with you, people do get impatient, waiting on content. And so, um, for me, one of the things that I was looking at is the distance between this event and the last time when we had the 3-star combiner event. The distance between those events wasn't that large. And so if we got two of the pieces for the 4-star this go around, I think that um, I'd say, and this is just me guessing, I would say that we would see the completed 4-star probably in about 4 months. So maybe we see it around May or June. Because I said, it seems like something that if they just did one of these events per saga, we'd be good. Yeah, Blade 19's agreeing with me. Says more money for less work, not more money for more work. Like, yeah, and that's my stance too. Like when you go spend money on the game, like it should get easier, it should be faster. It should do, and granted, I hate the prices on this stuff. When they go sell, content, like even with Dino King or whatever, for this to be what it does, for this ability right here, this 4-star ability to be in a minor health and damage increase, for that to be what it does, that's not worth $100 US to me. Just gonna be honest with you, it's just fucking not. But if but I do like the concept though. I was like, hey, you're not spending $100 on the event, and I think that if when they started pricing this stuff, if they look and say, hey, this is how much you should probably have to pay for this event, you could have did the event for free, and got 2 of them. So we're gonna say, hey, it's 3 events worth. You know, you probably could do 3 events worth of that for like $20 each if you had to spend it all. But realistically, you didn't have to spend on either of those events. So then you gotta figure out what's a reasonable price. And so, but that was one of those things. And I actually had a buddy of mine who said he wanted to just see. He made the proposal that so you should have the event for you, and at the event they give you your 2 parts, and then right after they would sell you 2 parts, like after the event was already completed. So for people who missed the event, you can still go in there and buy it. And so then he would say, next saga, you could do 2 more parts, sell 2 more parts, and then you can do that until it's done. So you would do that for 3 sagas. And then he was saying the saga after the 6th piece comes out, then you could just figure out what currency you wanted to use and then do it that way. The problem with that is if you sell the pieces, because they're not actually bots, um, going back to what I was saying, the whales would want to be able to have something. You spend the money on something, you want to have something that you can use right then and there. And that's the only reason why I kind of like that they sold it for $100, because it allowed the whales to do exactly that. You can have it, at this point he's probably maxed out, and you can just use it. So um so yeah, I definitely don't want to do it that way, but cool, man. So I actually want to go over a list of some things. So it's a list of things that I want to look at for 2025. And like I said, if you guys got ideas for things that you want to see, and particularly because this is a new opportunity here, because we're going to be going with a new studio, and then we might still have a lot of the same team here. But one of the top things, and it's probably going to be a tad bit unpopular, so I'm just going to come straight out swinging. I don't want to see I don't want to see bot batches anymore. Um, and the reason why, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to see us do bot batches the way we do them now. And right now we're saying, oh, we got to get 5 bots, and we try to go give them these massive reworks and all this stuff like that. Um, first off, I like the legacy projects, and Dale already came out a few weeks ago on Discord and says that he's probably going to be, you know, taking a step back from any of the developing stuff, which kind of sucks because for him, I wanted him to continue doing that, but you know what? If they are not able to continue doing that, then one of the problems we're gonna have is you're gonna wind up having to do more reworks when a 5-star comes out or something like that, as opposed to it being its own project. For me, what I want to do is kind of do similar to how we do combats. And so with combats, one of the things that we do is, and I'm actually going to pull it up on the screen. One of the things that we do with your combats is you put them, you just drop them all into like one mega batch, and then you might, now here's the thing, you might have to wait for a batch break. If you say, if I wanted to get groundhog and I didn't have them, and now we're on SB Megatron, it could be a pain. You might have to go through every last one of those. So then you might wait for the batch break. But I think that's the perfect platform for how we could do bots. If we did bots that way, there's always going to be an endurance bot every 8 weeks. And the reason why I would want to do it this way is because ultimately it's going to slow Space Ape down on how much content they're trying to push at one time. And and it stops people from asking. Like, there's times where a new batch comes out and they're like, well, when's the next batch come out? And the truth is, it's like, hey man, like the next batch, typically they come out once per quarter, but then there's exceptions. Like this quarter, we didn't have one. They started prioritizing work and other stuff, and that's okay. They made a catch-up batch, the quarter before that. So I think that this also helps you just streamline just how often they have to work on new content. I think if you just work on one bot, push that one bot into the batch, and that means once a quarter, you're not sitting up there trying to look at, you're not trying to go back and look at five-star bots again, and then play testing is easier. Everything becomes easier at that point, because what usually happens in play test for a batch is you get 2 or 3 people to just get stuck on just this one bot, and then the other bots that need attention, don't get it. And so that's what kind of where I'm coming from. So Berserk made a good point in there. Says they should be doing quarterly balance updates. Some bots don't need major rework, but small buffs and adjustments. And yeah, that's true. And and you can speak intelligently about this from being in playtest. Um, One of the things that we should be looking at is like, hey man, some of this stuff just doesn't need this major overhaul, and especially, but I think when you just came out with a bot, like if you did it the way that I'm saying right here, if you did just one bot entering the batch at a time, when it came time for the general 5-star release or something like that, that's the time that you could use to go relook at the bot. At that point, it'll been have been like a saga or two. It'll have been like 8 to 16 weeks, and if it's doing something wrong before you release it to the general public, then that would be the time to reevaluate it. But you would just be looking at that one bot, and then you can move on, and it would be much easier for the QA process. And but yeah, to your point, some balance updates can have more effect, like adjusting how a defense building works. Yeah, they should do that. And I think the part of the problem that we're having with this game is we wait to do all this stuff at one time, and it just looks like, oh man, it's kind of like you're just trying to throw a parade every time we go do stuff. Like HQ updates. It's been well over a year since phase 3, and technically there's still a phase 4. So when people ask me, well, when's HQ 19 coming out, and I say, well, you got to have phase 4 first. So um but right now, the difficulty had been so high for a little bit that I think they were kind of afraid. But I think now people, well, top players are starting to get used to the way the game is right now. Everybody else isn't, and that's a problem. And so, and so now we got some comments in here asking, well, how come? Basically, they're asking the same thing. Like Blade 19 is like, why can't we just choose the bot we want? I think that would be a little bit too easy, and I think that only because now everybody's trying to get all those combiner pieces, and everybody will honestly just go chase the meta bots. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. You could definitely do it like that because I know Escalahasi is saying down there, or you can just do 5K shards for a 5-star crystal, or 75 for a specific bot. Now that I would like. If you had a higher price to go get a specific bot, that'll be awesome, man. It's like, hey, you're paying more for you to pick your bot. That I'm perfectly okay with that. That's a slowdown mechanism for people who are hunting a specific bot, and it works. I mean, it works for other content, like when you want to go get a weapon and you got to go do this 7.5k for to get a weapon, and you don't even get to pick that. Um, but it is kind of, I don't like it, but it is kind of fair because if those are more powerful. All right, so Fusion Bolt says that bot batches kind of work against the idea that 5-star bots are not a lottery but a guarantee. If you have 1 in 5 chance of what you want. So yeah, so a lot of people starting to kind of get on the same path here. So he also said that, so yeah, 5K or 7.5K for choice, but they could put an event prize or cyber pass item of guarantee selection to pair with your use of your shards. So yeah, I think most of us agree that that would work well. All right, Jakeda says Dale needs to focus. He needs to be the community manager or developer, in my opinion. He doesn't handle the split responsibilities very well, but it'd be great to see him continue legacy projects. Excuse me. So I know that's been a conversation that a bunch of us have had. Um, I think he does well with legacy projects. I think that honestly, I think that their system that they use to communicate with players, um, I think that's what needs to change. You know, if you're in his case making the newsletter and then you're having a team meeting, and I've been saying this for a couple of years, so even though it caused me to really to have to move my live stream over, I was kind of okay with going to Thursdays, because I and I just kind of I just kind of gauge just different behaviors. And one of the things that I kept seeing consistently is they were trying to scramble every Wednesday to go put out this newsletter. And so it made me feel like maybe they were having a meeting on Wednesdays and they hadn't ironed out all the details during that meeting or something. And so Thursday morning, whatever they put in the newsletter on Thursday's already changed. That's irritating to me. So, um, all that to say that some of their processes, some of the just back and forth with folks in Discord. Yes, you're the community manager, and yes, that's part of your job. But when you're constantly getting this many things wrong, then that becomes like a full-time job of just answering questions about stuff in Discord and just having some of the back and forth conversations on Discord. And it shouldn't be that way if everything was planned out better. Let's see. So Blade 19 says make combiner batches have all Predaking parts in one batch and vice versa. So if you're going for a combiner, you don't have to go through 3 or 4 different batches to get what you need. Yeah, and I definitely don't think that. And even though that's always been my argument about them putting the bots in the batch, because like I'll give you an example of when I first broke this. It was about this time last year when I was doing that interview with Dale series, and we were having that conversation, and everybody started changing their votes and everything based on who the combiner pieces were. And when that happened, one of the things that I was really looking at was, as a matter of fact, let's go. I want to go back to the game screen for a second, because one of the things that we were looking at is just how far separated they were for a lot of these batches. Now, I got lucky the other day, and I probably should have just waited till live stream, but I felt lucky if I would have did it then. But I actually pulled one of the pieces that I needed for Predaking the other day. So I needed 3, and now at this stage, I only need 2 because I went into Legacy 2, and I was able to pull actually Legacy. Did this update to? Oh no, yeah, Legacy 2. I pulled Dive Bomb the other day, so that helped me out because it was only my second pull in that batch, and I didn't have to go dig through that whole batch. Because my fear, once we started saying, no, you guys need to pick the 5 stars and everything, is that if you didn't have all of those bots, you got to go back to all these different batches. But and you still will have to, but I could make that what I wanted was I could make that my focus, and then when the bot comes out in the batch, then I can go back to focusing on it. But I also don't like to backtrack like that. So maybe it is would be a good thing if they had some kind of way for you. I don't know necessarily say put them all in the same batch, but if they had some kind of way for you to get a guaranteed piece of the 5 star. So then you get this batch here and 9 for Headstrong, and then you get one of the is it the newest batch? The 15 to go in there and get Rampage. So it's a lot of digging that could take place, especially if you don't do endurance events. It can be tough. So yeah, I do think they need to do something though. To your point, hey, Big Joe joined us. Thanks for joining. And yeah, we were just talking about like what would they do outside of batches. Like I said, for me, the simplest way and the way that's already worked would be for them just to go ahead and do it like they would do for combats. But then everybody started having all these other good ideas, and so a lot of people are saying, "Hey, like this, let you pick a pot, and it'll be for 7.5K. You could just do all kinds of stuff." We already been beating this dead horse, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot here. But I say they definitely need to make more transparent content releases. Um, and honestly, like it would be nice if, especially as a content creator, like there are times where we don't even have a bot in playtest, and it's 2 weeks, maybe even a week before it goes into the event for the endurance event or any event really, because it could say the same thing about weapons and stuff like that. When they made Forge a Soulless Prime, they did a real good job with that. It came out pretty good right away, and they did it relatively early. So that was fine. But then it's like every endurance bot, you're just kind of sitting there waiting and hoping, and people are already starting to bid. You got to start having that stuff. That those bots should really be in play test at the beginning of the saga, and so you get 8 weeks total for the developers to work on, play testers to play test them. Uh, we should have something close, at least close to a finished product, a month out. And with other content releases, like we don't know when they're gonna do Legacy Batch. We don't know when they're gonna do um, a 5 star batch. We don't know when they're gonna do a combiner. And people just sit there and they ask me these things, and I was like, just no info. And I know it's frustrating for them, but it's frustrating for me too, because it's like, dude, we have no clue. Like a lot of times I might not even know this stuff until I see it in the newsletter. So I feel like they're always scared that if you give players some prep time for this stuff, that maybe they're gonna say, oh, if you got a piece of content, and case in point, we don't know if you miss all of these events, or if you didn't. I had a friend of mine who didn't get the 50K this weekend. He got close, but he didn't get it, and so now he got one of the pieces for, in his case, it was Raiden, and you don't know when the next um, event's gonna be. You don't know that after you get through those events, when they're gonna go be available and what currency they're gonna use. Um, so a lot of people just start to panic, and it's like, well, man, I'm gonna be waiting for this like a year and a half, and I want it, you know. um, and we shouldn't do that. We should have. You'd be like, look, even if it's gonna be a long time, man, we ain't releasing the rest of it for like another 8 months. Cool, man. Like you just gonna have to wait, or you can go buy the piece. You should be able to buy a individual piece, though. I will say that because one of my buddies was saying just make it so you can just buy them two pieces at a time. I think there should be an option to go buy a separate, just buy one piece. So, but yeah, I think I think some of the play testers in here agree we need to have content, a saga's worth of content completed entering the saga. I already hit this one too, but we need fair content prices, man. And I already kind of went on the rant about that earlier. But when I go look and see that, a combiner is on, and the combiner was actually more reasonable than some of the weapons that we get in the game because we're selling weapons for like $150 as a 5-star version. And I was like, bro, there's not any one weapon or any one combat or anything else in this game that I feel like personally that's worth $150 just for exclusivity when everybody else is eventually gonna get it. Like that's wild. And I'm not here for it. I think that that's too high, and I think that that stuff got to come. It's got to come down. Make it something reasonable. Like, dude, you're paying the price that you would play for a console game and the gold version of its DLC. That's crazy for a mobile game that, you know, honestly, and I'm not saying like I already told you guys that the game's not going away, but we didn't know that, you know, a couple of weeks ago. And so, yeah, when you start asking $150 for certain stuff, that's too much. $100, that's too much. See, this is another thing I'm talking about is, Nemesis and Force just asked, like, where's 5-star Tripticon? You know, um, these are the kind of questions that I was talking about when I said they should be transparent about some of this stuff. Um, you know, if it's if 5-star Titans are 2 years off, tell us that. Doing they live stream every month. Oh, for me, this is my personal one. I want the um the training center. I just want that to be a permanent thing, man. Like, uh, I hate that once every weekend somebody's like, "Well, go load up the XP," and it's like we need to load up one day of the XP, and it's like a 10K individual. And I'm like, bro, like I don't want to have to keep donating to that shit. Just so it's a small thing, but it's one of those things. All the rest of Alliance HQ, when you were done with it, you were done with it, and they hadn't added anything to it since. This is the one thing that I just got to keep adding to all the time because every single weekend somebody wants to burn up all of the XP, and I just don't like it. And then the last thing I was going to talk about, and we already talked about, is get endurance info out early, even if you don't have a bot in playtest. Like, what's stopping you from saying, "Hey, this is what we're thinking about doing"? We want a bot that does, like in the bots we just had. We want a bot that does glass gas in the area or something like that. If that's what you want, like you can tell people that at the beginning of the saga. I think at the beginning of the saga, you should know what the Cyberpass skin is gonna be. Like Cyberpass didn't even come out on time today. I think that you need to know at a minimum, excuse me, you need to know at a minimum who the new endurance bot is. Like it's just certain things that you just should know that we just don't know in a reasonable amount of time. Like, if everybody knew this is who the new bot is, and this is what his ability is gonna, this is the kind of ability we're looking at, and your play testers will work with us and see and help us balance it. This is why I always say for play test, I've always been one to want to balance the bot as opposed to trying to say, oh, I want this ability. Cool, man. I just want it to work well in whatever meta it is. And every bot's not going to be a bot that you like that comes out in endurance. That's just, everybody should at some point accept that. But for me, like, my focus is on balancing the bot with whatever ability. Now, if the ability is so trash that it's unusable, now I will 100% say that. But if the only reason why you want them to change it in playtest, in my opinion, is I don't like that, then that's not a good enough reason. Like, what do we need to do to make this be usable in the current meta? And I think a lot of that is I think you get a lot of feedback from the community as a whole if you get that information out there early, and then let the play testers actually test it and fine tune it and make it better. Play test would go smoother. The more people would probably go for each of the bots. Like with this last group of bots that we just got. When we got people backed out of the event for Dreadwing there, and the reason why they backed out is because it was too much unknown. Like, we were going into the event not really knowing shit about them. So, but that's that's all I really got for tonight, man. I just it's some things just got to change, and I hope, and I got my fingers crossed that going to this new studio, because um it seemed like there was a lot that was going on. That Space Ape held some stuff up from development and stuff as well. So I hope going to the new studio changes a lot of things, and I'm looking forward to 2025. So, but yeah, man. Like I said, I'm going to be on 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays now instead of Wednesdays. I even put the little new slide in there in my slideshow at the beginning of the stream. So uh, I will catch you guys next time uh, for the next stream, and I'll see you there, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezius out.